Everyone good?
Good morning. My name is Scott Rubin. I'm the Superintendent of Schools for the Cranford Public School System. It is my absolute pleasure to extend a very warm welcome to Governor Murphy and Education Commissioner Repollet. We're truly honored to have you here today. I'd also like to recognize Senator Kane, Assemblyman John Bramnick, Mayor Patrick Giblin, and the Cranford Township Committee, Board President Kurt Petschow, and the Cranford Board of Education, and all of our other special guests here today. You know, I've heard the expression many times that it takes a village to raise a child. And I have to tell you, Cranford takes that statement very seriously. We have lots of people in the community that work tirelessly to provide opportunities for students. And we really appreciate the governor's partnership, his championing our students, and making education a priority. After the governor's budget address, the district was informed that we were going to receive about $216,000 in additional state aid for the 2019-2020 school year. Our community is so appreciative of these additional funds, and the money will be used to continue the district's focus on promoting and enhancing health and wellness and supporting a positive school culture and climate. Specifically, the district is going to hire 2 new school counselors, one for Hillside Avenue School and one for Orange Avenue School. We truly value our healthcare professionals and the services that they provide. They have such an amazing impact on our children's well-being. Reducing the current ratio of healthcare professional to student from over 700 to 1 to 350 to 1 will provide such greater supports and benefits to our students. In addition, these extra funds are going to go towards some professional development to foster and enhance an environment where children with disabilities and learning differences are valued as learners and empowered to success. These extra funds will continue our efforts to create an inclusive environment for all of our students. We cannot thank Governor Murphy enough for allowing our school districts to provide even greater care and focus on the social and emotional well-being of our students. And so with that, it is my absolute honor to introduce the Governor, Phil Murphy.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rubin, for that introduction, for all that you do. It is a treat to be here in the home of the Cougars. I was on back and forth with one of your alums this morning, regaling his time here, Dave Pringle, and I'm thrilled to be here. I'm also honored to be joined by the Commissioner of the Department of Education, Dr. Lamont Repollet, to my left. Again, Lamont, great to have you. I know Assembly Minority Leader John Bramnick is en route. He will be here, I believe, shortly. Mayor Patrick Giblin, thank you so much for always opening the doors so wide. Members of the Township Committee, thank you for your support. Freeholder Chair B.J. Kowalski, honored to have you with us. What's that? An alum as well. I have to treat you with even more respect. And of course, I must thank all of the educators and staff, the principal, assistant principal, the county commissioner of the Board of Education, President. John, come on down. We're just talking about you behind your back, and it was all good. And the terrific students, most importantly, who make Cranford High one of our state's highest performing schools in this community, therefore a magnet for families. How are you? Good to see you. All right, my pleasure. Let there be no doubt that we want every district in this state to achieve the high standards that are being set right here. We know that what is happening in Cranford and in countless other districts across the state doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't happen by Cranford going it alone. It takes the commitment of a community and a partnership with the state. Our administration's goal remains ensuring that every district receives its fair share of funding. This is a simple concept that was pushed aside by the prior administration, and it is one that we're working hard to get back to. It wasn't that long ago, 2010 to be exact, that Cranford lost 77% of its state formula-driven school aid in one fell swoop, nearly $2.6 million practically overnight. Across Union County, as BJ and others here know, other school districts also were similarly impacted. Some even lost all of their state aid. This put our schools at the bottom of a deep, deep hole. One of our top priorities has been to finally get them out of that hole. Cranford exemplifies our commitment to getting back to having a fair and workable school funding formula. 1 year ago, we announced a $187,000 investment in Cranford in new aid. This year, we're on target for another $216,000 in new aid. That's more than $400,000 in new state aid, which is a 17% increase in just 2 years. And across Union County, 19 of 21 school districts will see increases in state aid. We're making up for lost time, and there's still more for us to do. I look forward to continuing to invest more year over year in our kids and communities and in our educators and classrooms and libraries. By restoring our commitment to following the state's funding formula, we are restoring fairness for communities that were unilaterally stripped of aid. And let's be clear about where every dollar we invest ultimately leads us, to having the highly skilled workforce we will need to make New Jersey a true economic power for years to come. Consistently, more than 96% of Cranford's high school students graduate. They attend some of our state's and nation's best and most competitive colleges and universities. They start really good careers. That is what this investment means for Cranford, just as it does in every community. Thank you so much. It is now my pleasure to introduce our Commissioner of Education, the Dr. Lamont Repollet.
Governor Murphy, Assemblyman Bramnick, Mayor Giblin, my friend Superintendent Rubin, Principal Catagallo, board members, and members of the Cranford School District, freeholder, and other elected officials. I'm excited to be here with you today to discuss our administration's historic levels of school funding proposed in the governor's fiscal year 2020 budget. The Cranford Public School District alone, as the governor said, will see an increase of 8.2% in aid this year for a total of $2.8 million. This is great news for Cranford Public School. As Scott mentioned before, Superintendent talked about the investment in social and emotional learning, the counselors, so you get to see real-time work. So we're very excited about that. So our governor proposed a 2020 budget, maintains our administration's commitment to children and to public schools. It includes an additional $206 million to our community to continue our ramp-up full pre-K formula and $68 million to both maintain and expand our preschools. The budget also proposes $2 million to continue the Computer Science for All initiative. See, in addition to that initiative, $1.35 million will be set aside to continue Liberty Science Center's program that provides science education to schools in high numbers of at-risk students. An additional $400,000 infusion will go towards innovative and early college programs such as our P-TECH model, announced this year, which schools, community colleges, and local businesses will work together to ensure that our students are on a path to post-secondary success. So as a former teacher, principal, and superintendent, I know firsthand that investing in our schools has a real impact in our children's education, and I think Cranford School District will realize that next year when you go from a ratio of 700 to 350. And we all know as educators the impact you have when you have less of a caseload. So that is real impact that's happening next school year. So thank you, Governor Murphy, and working with the legislators to ensure that we have a stronger and fairer educational system. Thank you.
Well said. Well said. We'd love in a perfect world to get that ratio to keep coming down, Scott. So stay tuned. As Scott said, it takes a village to achieve the results that are achieved at this extraordinary high school, and that includes leadership in the community. And it's my honor to introduce, to come up for a few words, Cranford's Mayor Patrick Giblin.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Commissioner, Dr. Repollet. I want to acknowledge my colleagues on the Cranford Township Committee, Mary O'Connor and John Messinove, our freeholder president, B.J. Kowalski, some members of our Board of Ed, our president, Kurt Petschow, and vice president, Lisa Carbone, and Bill Hulse. We also have a Westfield Board of Ed member, Rob Garrison here with us today, and many of our professionals at the town level and the Board of Ed level. I want to thank you very much for giving the governor a great welcome here and all the logistics that went into his visit. Thanks, Dr. Rubin. You're doing great work here in Cranford, as you heard from the governor rattle off some of these statistics and the Commissioner of Education. But our work is never done, and this contribution, this increased funding, is going to go a long way, and we're going in the right direction. Cranford does a lot with a little. They really stretch out our tax dollars tremendously, and we are the working class in New Jersey. Much of what we accomplish, I was talking to the doctor before. He was talking about the reputation of Cranford sports, and our academic reputation is unparalleled. But much of it's done with less. We make what we have go very far. So, any additional funding, we promise to make excellent use of it. And those numbers are there. The college acceptance and the amount of kids that go on to higher education. But much of that is emboldened by, if you come in here on a Saturday or something, you'll see how many people, there's a tremendous amount of pride in Cranford. The Cranford Cougar. It's not just the kids in school, it's the adults wearing it. There's, you see the magnets on the cars and so on. So that said, we did get you a little something, a hat and a T-shirt for your next visit. So you'll fit in a little bit better when you come here. Great. Little token of our appreciation. But again, exactly. Again, Governor, I want to thank you for recognizing the importance of investing in our children's future and the need for education funding. All of your efforts to move Cranford, our Board of Education, and New Jersey forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you for that. We are honorary Cougars and really proud of that. So thank you very much for that, and thank you for your leadership, and to the Township Committee, and to Westfield's in the house here, by the way. There's no denying it. So welcome to you all as well. You can go off and do things unilaterally. In the broadest sense of it takes a village. It's really better done when you can do it across the aisle. And that's a longer, better result wherever you can find common ground. And I think putting our kids first is one of the prime areas where we find common ground more often than not across the aisle. And it is in that spirit that I'd like to introduce a guy who's a leader across the aisle, and I think stands for a lot of the really good things in this county, in this district, and around the state. The Minority Leader of the General Assembly, John Bramnick.
When I received the call yesterday from the governor's office to join him in Cranford, I thought for a moment, and I said, that's exactly what we should be doing in front of the students in Cranford. We should be standing together on a bipartisan basis. Even though we may not agree on every issue, it's important that we show students here in Cranford and around the state that Republicans and Democrats can meet, can talk, and can be civil to each other. So thank you very much, Governor, for having me here. I truly appreciate it. I toured Cranford School just by accident just a couple days ago. The talent of the students are incredibly motivated. I have to tell you, I left with a sense of well-being, which I very rarely have sometimes in politics, a sense that the future of not only New Jersey but the country is great. If you haven't seen, whether it be the play or the leadership of students in this school, you must do it. The incredible array of courses and hobbies and clubs is absolutely incredible. I'm so proud to be in Cranford. I'm a Plainfield High School graduate with as a Cardinal. I'll always be a Cardinal, but now I'm a big fan of the Cougars, a really big fan of the Cougars. In conclusion, let me say this, that funding education is priority number one, especially when that money is used in a way that Cranford uses it. I'm proud of what this school has done, its leadership, the Board of Education, and especially the students. So I joined with the governor today to say, let's work together in a bipartisan way to show people in our state and our country that we can work together. Thanks so much.
So you were trained as a Cardinal. I was trained as a Rocket. So we're all still we're honorary Cougars today. We're going to take any questions that are on topic as it relates to education, and then we're going to break. And I've got a couple of things I wanted to say that were completely unrelated to the reason we're here today, and take any off-topic questions. So is there anything that folks want to ask about education? Please.
Yeah, Governor, could you and maybe Assemblyman Bramnick speak to the issue of fairness? Because obviously in a place like Cranford, they're getting more money, so it's fairer. In some areas, in many areas, they don't feel that it is fair. What's been the guiding principle, and how do you guys come to where you're at now?
So I'll speak for myself, and I'll invite John to come up and give his thoughts. And we have, this is not easy. You know, we had two realities that we inherited. Number one, dramatic underfunding of a school formula, and secondly, a formula that wasn't allowed to work for the past, for the 8 or so years before we got here. So importantly, we have been pursuing two paths. One is, as you've heard me say, we've put now over $550 million of incremental new funding toward beginning finally at long last to fully fund that school funding formula. And we worked separately with the Senate President last year, something he felt very strongly about, and we concurred that the formula needed to be updated. It was stuck in time back in 2008. The combination of those steps has led, I think, this year, Lamont, to an increase in 369 districts in the state, I believe, and flat or down in the balance, so sort of a 65-35% split. We have enormous empathy, sympathy, and we're working with the communities which are either slightly or a little bit more than slightly down to try to find smart ways to deal with that. So they're in a 7-year transition that should have been, by all accounts, a 15-year transition. It's shorter. It's a bit more abrupt, and some communities are feeling that pain. We want to work with them. The commissioner has some amount of emergency aid at his disposal, which is not going to solve all of these challenges, but we're open-minded about ways within that formula being funded and within that new path of the so-called S2 bill. We're open-minded to trying to find smart ways to ease that pain where it exists. You want to add anything, John?
Briefly, David, that obviously we have some concerns about some districts that lost substantial funds. That's why we're in the middle of this budget process, and that's why we should continue to talk to each other and try to make sure everyone's whole here. And that's going to happen hopefully between now and June, and that's why we continue to talk. So, good question.
Thank you. Anybody else on topic? Please, Brenna.
The suggestion that some of the districts that are struggling because of having to make up that lost aid to be able to exceed their 2% cap, what's your opinion on that?
I think I would just go back and say that we're open-minded to trying to find a sensible solution in these districts. And again, I bemoan the fact that we inherited this, which was not only deeply underfunded to the tune of over $9 billion, but the demographics of where the money was going and whether it was chasing the kids or not was disjointed. And so you can't fix that overnight. But we're open-minded. I think John said it well. We're talking. Importantly, we're talking with the districts, and we're trying to find sensible ways forward. You know, we have, by the way, the #2 rated, I hope it will be soon, #1 rated public school system in America. And that's not just about money. It's extraordinary educators, extraordinary administrators, staff, parents who take it seriously, leadership in the community. But it is about resources as well. We want to make sure that we continue not just to educate some of our kids well, but all of our kids really well. Please.
Are you and the commissioner still meeting up with these schools? There was the SOS.
Yep. Yeah, I'm not sure. I have not of lately. I hear from them all the time, and the commissioner and his team continue to. Yes.
And who's next? Do you know who you're seeing next for schools?
I don't know who I'm seeing next, but
No, we're not seeing a typical school next, but we're actually working with legislators. Today we have a meeting. We had a meeting yesterday in regards to. We had a meeting yesterday in regards to certain school districts. I think some of the most effective school districts. I have personally been in contact with those superintendents. As a former superintendent, a lot of them have my number. So as a result, I get text messages. But we have been working not only just at our level, but also at the county level with our county superintendents and our county BAs and as far as our assistant commissioners. So we have been in communication with them, as the governor said, just really trying to look at what tools we have at our disposal.
And I don't think there's anyone left in New Jersey who doesn't have my number, so I'm also hearing from folks as well. With that, I want to thank the superintendent, the principal, to the elected leadership, beginning with the mayor, the assembly, a minority leader, Bramnick, the commissioner, the educators, the staff, the extraordinary students here in Cougar Country. Thank you all so much for having us. We'll be back in about 5 minutes with some stuff that's off topic. Thank you all. Great job, man. Had 3 nights at the Stress Factory last week, which I had wanted to come to. I had meant to say this. I want to tell my favorite library joke. A guy walks up to the librarian and says, "I'd like a quarter pounder, large fries, and a large Coke." And the woman behind the desk, just like the woman I met up front, says, "Sir, don't you realize this is a library?" And he said, "Oh, sorry. I'd like a quarter pounder, large fry, and a large Coke." Thank you all. I could open this. Okay. A couple of things I wanted to say, if I could, that are off topic. Is it on? Okay. First, I have to attribute that joke to my son, Charlie, by the way, so give Charlie Murphy some credit here. I had a couple of things I wanted to say that were completely unrelated, and again, thanks everybody for coming out. I want to give a quick update on the wildfires in the Pinelands regions. First, the good news, the Spring Hill fire that began over the past weekend is now 100% contained. Firefighters have created a perimeter around the fire to stop its forward progress. Firefighters will continue to monitor the situation to make sure that no embers escape the perimeter. And with the high winds that we've seen over the past day or so, that was a not insignificant concern. I commend all the fire safety personnel who went above and beyond to ensure the safety of our residents and prevent any injuries or damage to property. The Department of Environmental Protection, state police, our municipal and county partners have all done an outstanding job. The cause of this fire is still under investigation, and anyone with information as to its origins is encouraged to call 609-296-3132. That's 609-296-3132. All tips will remain confidential. Having spoken to the incident command center on Sunday, there was 100% certainty that it was man-caused. So exactly what that is, I don't think we know yet. Now, at Joint Base McGuire-Dix Lakehurst, firefighters and first responders from the Joint Base Fire Services, as well as New Jersey State Forest Fire Service and Burlington County Strike Team, responded to a fire that originated yesterday afternoon at an on-base training range and which had burned approximately 1,200 acres. As of this morning, fire services are confident that this fire does not pose a threat to the base or the greater community. Forest Fire Service personnel departed the scene shortly after midnight and stand ready to assist military fire services in the event that that situation changes. The base remains open, although some local roads may remain closed, and we ask everyone to heed to the directions of police. On the heels of this fire, the Spring Hill fire earlier this week, and the beginning of the wildfire season, it is important that everyone stay vigilant and preventative about wildfires and cooperate with first responders when fires arise. Second topic, again, unrelated to our school funding event and unrelated to forest fires, I want to talk for a minute about the congestion pricing plan that has been approved in New York. I have strong concerns, starting with the lack of signals from the MTA, that either George Washington Bridge commuters will be treated equally with commuters entering Midtown Manhattan via the Lincoln and Holland tunnels, or that NJ Transit and PATH will get additional capital support from congestion pricing. Let's be clear, double tolling GWB commuters, and by the way, I believe the GWB accounts for 60% of the vehicular Trans-Hudson traffic. So double tolling those commuters would make this plan neither fair nor equitable, and it could make it counterproductive. Double tolled GWB commuters would undoubtedly do one of two things, other than paying the extra toll, which they will not be happy about and I won't stand for. Either they'll start using the tunnels, increasing traffic and traffic-related pollution at their entrances, by the way, at both ends, in Midtown and on the Jersey side, or they'll be pushed to the already stretched NJ Transit and PATH systems. It is worth noting that some of those NJ Transit commuters are New York State residents who commute through New Jersey on the Port Jervis line. The solution cannot be one with the unintended consequences of making traffic worse and increasing reliance on regional rail partners without their receiving additional support. It all comes down to a basic issue of fairness and equitable treatment for all commuters. And I hope that the MTA takes such a course as it implements congestion pricing. We have worked very well with Governor Cuomo on regional issues in the past, through the Port Authority, through the Gateway Development Corporation, through gun safety measures. I'm hopeful that we can work together on a truly regional solution that treats commuters fairly and equitably and ensures a stronger transportation network for our shared futures. In many respects, we rise and fall as one, particularly in the northern half of our state. Lastly, in a more poignantly, we have about 9 million residents in this state. Every day there are births, and we celebrate them, and every day we lose folks, and we mourn those losses. And it's difficult to pick out particular lives who have been lost to explicitly talk about, but I was reflecting overnight. Tonight I'm attending some of the services for Newark Mayor, the late Ken Gibson, who did an extraordinary job in that community in the immediate aftermath of the rebellions and the challenges of the late 60s. And very, very tragically, we witnessed a funeral yesterday for 21-year-old Samantha Josephson of Robbinsville, a student at the University of South Carolina, 21 years old, accepted to law school, had a bright future. By all accounts, was an extraordinary young woman. The daughter and sister who she leaves behind, a guy in her life. I've got a 21-year-old, a 19, 17, 15. These rideshare services are a part of their lives, almost second nature. It's an extraordinary tragedy. God bless her memory, and our prayers and thoughts are with her parents and sister and her friends and loved ones. And let us all learn from, I hope, the industry that participates in the ride-sharing stuff learns from this. So with that, would love to take any questions or comments you've got, please.
Do you think it's appropriate for Esther Suarez to tell residents not to read the news?
I literally have no idea where that question is coming from, but I think we all believe in the First Amendment, so I know I read the news. But thank you for asking. Please.
Two questions for you. One on congestion pricing. I know you sent a letter to Cuomo. You're saying that you don't want this to happen and all those reasons. But what more can you do? Will you get lawyers involved to push back on this?
I don't think we have to get lawyers involved, at least at this point. We had a good conversation between his senior team and our senior leadership yesterday. They understand our issues. I actually spent a significant amount of time with a senior advisor on the New York side speaking yesterday about it. I think folks understand the complexities, and I believe they understand the unintended consequences. And by the way, we do a lot together. I don't just say that in words. We do an enormous amount together. And I would tell you the intensity in and around the Gateway Development Corporation and the Gateway Tunnel is a particular example of that lately, where we are locked in for the benefit of the region. And we believe in the region. We believe in the viability of the region, and as it goes, in many respects, not just New York goes, but we go. And I accept all that. But I'm also the elected governor of the state of New Jersey, and I've got to, at the end of the day, stand up with vigilance and a steel backbone on behalf of our commuters. So it's too early to tell. This is years away. There is a commission that's being formed. We've gotten good assurances that our concerns will be represented, and we'll see how it evolves over time.
Question for you.
Please.
A report came out today that 500 bridges in New Jersey are structurally deficient. Gas tax money was supposed to go towards fixing roads, bridges, rail projects. Where's that money being spent, and why are these bridges not a priority?
So I only know the top line. I understand it's a better number than it was 5 years ago, and I take little or no solace in that. So 500 and something bridges is 500 and something bridges too many. And I have to roll the tape back. The Transportation Trust Fund started under one of my mentors and prior occupants of this position, Governor Tom Kean, was a brilliant idea that was allowed to basically go bankrupt, particularly under the last administration. And they finally, at the 11th hour, bailed it out with a convoluted, as you all know, you've heard me speak about, a Christmas tree of tax changes, some of which made sense, some of which made no sense. And so we're now playing catch up. I'm going to make an announcement, I think, tomorrow morning, Dan, on some significant DOT investments. But this is the sort of stuff that we take very seriously. I know the DOT, I know as of coming in here, is taking this very seriously. I don't have a crisp answer for you. But infrastructure, not just for the safety of our residents, but if we, as you've heard me say before, we're the densest state in the nation. Being able to move people and things around efficiently and safely is existential. It's not of passing interest. it's at the core of our viability as an economic and societal matter. So we got to get at that, and we're digging out of a hole that we got left, and we will continue to dig out.
On congestion pricing, would
Please.
you support Mayor Phillips' idea of slapping a toll on your trucks coming in?
First of all, I love the Jersey attitude. I love the fact that he said that. I would hope we can find a solution where we're not all race. I was going to say race to the bottom. I would hope we could find a solution which is somewhere on the common ground. But I love his attitude. That.
I think of a report today that folks at the SDA were the new hires at the SDA that are under scrutiny were underqualified.
So I only read a headline, so I've not read the article, so forgive me for that. But as I mentioned before, we were looking at this before this got into the press. We continue to look at it. We're taking it very seriously, and when we have something to say, I promise you we will say it. Before I come back to you, let me just see if there's any. Please. I'm still thinking about your first questions, which I have no idea what that was, but go ahead.
So there's a record legal team poll out today that has the approval for the millionaire's tax somewhere up in the 70s.
Yeah, over 70%.
Do you think you can use that or sort of beat the Senate President and the Speaker over the head with that?
I tend not to beat people over the head with anything, but I was struck by how, I'm not shocked by it because I had thought it was sort of a 2/3, 1/3, but if you haven't seen this poll, I think it's 72-22 or something like that. It's something like that in favor of the millionaire's tax. So I've said this before, and I really mean this. I don't really put a lot into polls, good, bad, or otherwise. We want to put the right policies in place, and I think tax fairness is a big deal, particularly when the middle class was hollowed out for 8 or 10 years, and we're now professing, as we are, to make an all-in historic investment in the middle class. You know, I want to come back to why we're here today. We're making a historic back-to-back year investment in public education, K through 12, in addition to expanding pre-K and access to community college. If we're going to do that, I have a hard time justifying that the middle class would continue to take it on the chin and pay for all that. So I think tax fairness is a big part of this, but I have to say it is rewarding to see that over 70%, you don't get many things that poll over 70%. That's over 70% of folks in the state believe it's the right thing to do, and that is rewarding. And I was a little bit surprised, not shocked, but a little bit surprised. I was particularly honored to see that I get high marks for the weather. So you should expect brining to begin on Memorial Day weekend. Just kidding. Before you come back, Brenda, I knew it'd get your attention over there.
Senator Sweeney has gently suggested that it might.
He wasn't beating me over the head either, right?
That it might be a good idea to merge the two health insurance systems for the education employees, teachers, in with the state workers union healthcare system, which operates, I guess, at a savings.
Yeah.
They get better rates than the teachers union.
Yeah, I think that, in fact, I'm still trying to parse through that because I think that at a moment in time was true, but based on the savings and the collective bargaining processes that we have gone through and are continuing to go through, I actually don't, I say respectfully, I don't think that math actually does work. I think the math that we're pursuing I know the math we're pursuing is real. I believe that's, to me, the best way to get those savings. And I'm a big believer, by the way. I used to say this theoretically. I've now lived it for 15 months, more than, in fact, because we started during transition. It's one thing for you to tell me, BJ, what to do, or for me to tell you what to do. It's another thing for you to come to the table, even when we disagree, roll up our sleeves, get all of us together, and hammer something out. And that's the road that we're going down. I say I'm not turning my back on anything that could save us money, but I want to do it together, and I want to make sure it lasts. And that's an important point, that the stuff we do sticks and there's buy-in. Because when it sticks and there's buy-in, that means it's permanent and it's real. Before Matt, anybody else who hasn't asked yet? Please.
Thanks. Do you think that there are any lawmakers that are only voting for recreational marijuana just for the medical marijuana aspect of it?
I don't know. I suspect that that's a question that the Senate President or the Speaker can answer better than I. I mean, I know what we inherited on the medical side, which was a gummed up, New Jersey was among, if not first in the American class, and it got gummed up in the prior administration, and we opened it up immediately. and we continue to open it up, but it's best if we get legislation that helps us open that up. And I'm leaving adult use aside for a second. If we can't get and I'm still optimistic we'll get that, and we're still talking and working together, and I'm not sure exactly when. You've asked me when do I think that is. I've got no new insights on that. But it's imperative that we continue to open up that regime. There are legislative steps that have to be taken. We can take executive steps, and we will take them if the legislation doesn't come to pass. But even having said that, even if we open this up dramatically, there's legislation on things like dosage, as an example, that we really could use. Forget about me, the now 40-something thousand, with the number growing meaningfully by the day, that those patients need and desperately need. One thing on adult use, and I'd love to close with this if that's okay, are we good? Is I want to remind everybody that in the absence of getting successful legislation that I would sign, and again, I'm still optimistic we'll get there. I know it's not easy. We are left with the status quo. And the status quo is, I want to remind everybody, our kids are exposed. The bad guys run the business and make all the money. We have no cure for the social injustices that have been built up over decades. We have the widest white, non-white gap of persons incarcerated in America, overwhelmingly because of low-end drug possession crimes. And this week alone, about plus or minus 600 people in the state will be arrested for marijuana-related offenses, overwhelming number of whom will be of color. That's the status quo. So I would beg again, folks, to get their mind around whether, we're not inventing marijuana. I get that. Get your mind around, please. I beg everybody who's on the fence on this to understand that the status quo is completely and utterly unacceptable. Our kids are completely exposed to bad folks who, by the way, are now beginning to lace this with other deadly elements like fentanyl. That cannot last. We've got to get to a better place. And I believe the legislation that we've come close on, and I believe that we'll get to again, gets us to that better place. Thank you all very much. Thank you, folks. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Be well, everyone.